Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountryshootcottage.net, and we're here today comparing the Cricut Easypress with an iron. So if you thought about buying the Easypress and you're not sure how it would compare and you're using an iron today to add iron onto projects, this is the video for you. Now, this video is sponsored by Cricut, however all projects and opinions are my own. So let's start by talking about a little about the Easypress and a little about the iron we're going to use. First of all, an iron. So you might have a household iron. I actually purchased this one new, so I'm using a brand new iron on this video. So I've found that over time, the iron I use gets less and less consistent heat across the surface, and I have more and more trouble adding iron onto projects, which is why I personally love the Easypress 2. So the Easypress 2 comes in 3 different sizes. So this is the medium size, the 9x9. It also comes in a smaller version and a larger version. We used a smaller version actually in this video, so look out for it. So the Easypress 2, as you can see, has a large heating surface with no holes. So as compared with an iron that has holes for steam, the Easypress 2 won't have those holes. Anywhere you have a hole on your iron, you're not getting good adhesion with your iron-on product. That's why you have to move the iron. The Easypress 2, you set it down, you heat the entire surface evenly for the entire time, don't have to move it at all, and get that really good press with your iron-on material. Now, how do you know what temperature and time to use with either one? So first of all, I would follow any directions that come with the product you're using. So on the iron itself, of course, you don't have a ton of temperature control. So, you either set it at cotton or a little less than cotton. You set it at the linen setting. The Easypress 2, however, has a temperature dial. So you hit the temperature button and you can adjust it up and down. So the Easypress 2 actually goes up to 400 degrees. So it can get super hot. So you just follow the directions. Cricut actually has a guide for iron-on material. So you find the iron-on material you're using, as well as the substrate you're putting it on, so cotton or cotton poly blend or silk, whatever you're putting it on, and then it gives you a temperature as well as a time. So same thing, you can set the time, hit the time button, and adjust the time up and down. Then when you hit the button, it actually counts down for you. So no more with your iron counting in your head. So I always do like 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000 in my head as I'm using my iron. No more of that with the Easypress 2. So I just cut, first of all, some iron-on materials. So we're going to use 4 different iron-on materials in this video, and we're going to put them on a shirt to sort of contrast and compare the two machines. And you can cut those with any Cricut machine. So any Cricut machine will cut any of the iron-on. So you can use any of the Cricut Explore series or the Cricut Maker. And then we are going to apply those to a shirt. So the next question I think people ask is like, how long will the iron-on last? I actually have a shirt that I'm going to make in this video, and then at the end I'm going to show you it after a couple times through the laundry, so you can kind of see what happens to the iron-on as you wear it and use it in daily use. So the other thing we're going to use is the Easypress mat. So I'll talk a little bit more about this in the videos, but the Easypress mat is optional. You can actually use a towel under the Easypress, but the Easypress mat I love because it helps with that even heating, and it also helps control moisture. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. So let's get started and let's use the Easypress 2 and the iron to make a shirt that will compare the two and see how they both work. So for this comparison, we're going to use a plain white 100% cotton shirt. And then we're going to use a wide variety of iron-on materials. So I have glitter, patterned, everyday, and holographic. Now we're going to cut some samples from all the different types of iron-on with our Cricut machine, and we'll get started comparing the Easypress to the iron. So when cutting your iron-on materials, be sure to mirror your image and place the material either shiny side down on the mat or colored side down on the mat. So the good side should go down onto the mat, and you should mirror all your images. So now let's cut all of our materials. So I started by cutting some samples with my Cricut. So this can be done with either the Cricut Maker or the Cricut Explore Air 2. And then I'm going to weed all these. So I've got several hearts, and on them is Easypress or iron, and then I will press those to a shirt respectively. So I'll press the Easypress ones with the Easypress and the iron ones with the iron. So I have a mixture of everyday iron-on, patterned, glitter, and holographic. And I have each of those in both combinations. So we can do a fairly good test on how the Easypress presses versus the iron. And then if we have success with both, I can also wash the shirt and know the difference between where I pressed. And then we can wash it a few times. Now, I've not had success with an iron in the past, so we'll see what happens. We may not have anything to actually run through the washing machine and see if the iron actually sticks. I've done Easypress shirts, several of those, and I know it sticks, but as a comparison, I would like to run both through if I can get it to actually stick. So we'll see what happens. So for now, I'm going to weed all my pieces, and then we can start pressing with both the iron and the Easypress for our comparison. Then we'll be using the Easypress, and I'm going to use the smallest size of Easypress. It actually comes in 3 different sizes, and I have a post on that as well if you look for the link in the description for this video, or if you can't find it, just leave a comment and I'll get that for you. And then we're going to use a standard iron with no water or anything inside. And I'm also going to use the Easypress mat with my Easypress, and we'll talk a little bit about the benefits of the Easypress mat and why you might want it. Alright, so we have our cotton shirt and we have our iron on. Now we're going to start with the everyday, and we're going to start with the iron. So the iron has been set to the cotton setting, which is what is recommended by Cricut, and it has no water in it, no steam. So the first thing you'll notice about the iron is that it has holes, which is for the steam normally. Now what happens is these holes are not heated, so you get an uneven surface temperature across your iron. So you're going to want to make sure to move your iron as you press. So the first thing we're going to do is press our surface, heating it up slightly and smoothing out any wrinkles. Then we'll add the iron-on material, and then we want to press for approximately 30 seconds. Now, there's no timer, so we'll have to either set a timer or count to ourselves as we're pressing. And then we're going to flip the shirt over and repeat and press on the back with the iron for 30 seconds. Again, I'm moving the iron so that uneven heat distribution does not affect my press. Once I've pressed on the back, I can just turn that over. We're just going to allow it to cool slightly, and then we're going to peel this off. Now, if the iron-on is not stuck, you'll need to repress again with your iron. It appears to be stuck fairly well. So I did okay with the iron and the everyday iron-on. Now, one thing you'll note is that I used my Easypress mat under the iron. You may not have one of these, however, so the next press I'm going to use just a folded up towel. So what the Easypress mat does, whether you use it with your Easypress or with your iron, is it evenly distributes the heat as well as collecting moisture and making sure that the moisture does not come out. So you will be absolutely shocked how much moisture is in your towel. So this is just a bath towel. And you'll want to press on a surface that is heat safe. So the amount of moisture that comes out of this towel really surprises me, and it actually, I will not press any iron-on with my towel on a wood surface because I'm scared that the wood surface will be damaged by the amount of moisture that comes out. Like, that's how much comes out of my towels, even though they're dry. So the next we're going to use, we'll do holographic next. And again, I'm just going to put it down. So I ironed it, heated it up, 10-15 seconds, something like that. Then I'm putting it down, and I'm going to press, and I'm going to again move and press down with my iron for 30 seconds. I flipped it over and I pressed again from the back for the 25 to 30 seconds. And now I'm just going to flip it over. We're going to allow this to cool slightly, and then we're going to try to peel this one back as well. So this is the holographic iron-on, and once again I used the towel this time under the iron, and it appears to be stuck. So no, okay, so what has happened is that most of it is stuck, but there was an area where just the iron had inconsistent heat, and it's lifting up as I'm pulling back the carrier sheet. So now I'm just going to put that back down, and I'm going to redo the entire process again. So, so far, the everyday iron-on worked pretty well, but I used the Easypress mat under it. Now I'm experimenting with the towel and the iron, and I'm going to have to press these again. And I'm going to do the full 30 seconds again, and I'm going to try to make sure to move my iron and make sure that I get all those areas evenly heated. Okay, so this is after a second press, and I'm going to try once again to lift this up. Once again, my letters aren't really stuck down well. I'm going to allow it to cool completely. Try to lift it up again and see if maybe it's because it was warm. So this is my frustration with the iron, is that I have to keep going back again and again, trying to get the iron on to stick and trying a variety of different methods. It almost always works out for me this way, no matter what type of iron-on I'm using. I was really impressed actually that the everyday worked for me with the iron, because generally I can't get the iron to work on any of the iron-on materials. Okay, so we're gonna let this cool, and it's almost completely cool. So we're gonna try again. So I'm just gonna start lifting that up. Okay, it's not bad from that end. So I'm gonna lift it up from both sides. Okay, it's pretty good, so I'm going to leave it like that. So this is the holographic. Now, there is some distortion in the heart, so we'll see if we also get that with the Easypress. So this time it's the glitter iron-on. Same settings on the iron, so 100% cotton setting, no steam, and I'm using the towel again. And I just pressed it once, front and back, preheating the material before I started. So the heart is fine, so let's check this. So actually it's pretty good. So I just heated it from the front and back, just like the instructions said, with the glitter, and everything looks fine. So now we're going to move on to the patterned iron-on. Alright, so once again I heated the patterned iron-on, same settings in my iron, and again I'm using the towel under this. And so I can tell just by barely lifting it up that the edges are not stuck well. I'm just going to let it cool, make sure it's cool completely. It's almost cool, but I'm going to let it cool completely. Try one more time before I press again, just to make sure that that's not a factor. And it does look better. Okay. It does look better, so we're going to continue to lift this off, and I'm just going to pay close attention to those edges. Make sure they're down completely. And not bad. So there we have patterned, glitter, holographic, and everyday done with our iron. So now I'm going to go down this side and do the same type of iron-on materials on this side with my Easypress, so you can see the differences in the two. So now I've went back to my Easypress mat, and I'm going to lay my shirt on it. Now for the Easypress, you actually have an interactive guide on the Cricut website, and you might have heard it beep just then. So what I did was looked up on my interactive guide, I looked up everyday iron-on, pressing it to 100% cotton, and it gave me a time and temperature that will work for this particular application. And then you just set it on your Easypress. So you turn the Easypress on with this button, you click the temperature button, and you can adjust it up and down. Then you click the time button, and you can adjust it up and down. With the Easypress 2, it actually remembers your last time and temperature setting from the last time you did a press. So I have it at 315 for 30 seconds, and it'll beep when it's at that temperature, and it lets me know that it's ready. And then when I go to press, I press the C, and it will actually count down the time for me, so I know exactly how much time I've used and taken to press. So the first thing the instructions say is to preheat the material, just like we did with the iron. Then, once we've preheated the material, we can lay our iron-on material down, put the Easypress down, and press that green C. Now it'll count down for us, and it'll actually beep when it's done, so no need to pay attention. The other thing you want to note about the Easypress is that it has an even temperature all across the base, and there's no holes for anything like steam. So you don't have to move it at all, you just have to apply light pressure to the handle while it's counting down and pressing. And you may have heard that beep, and that indicates that it's done. And if you want to take a look at the bottom, this is the bottom of the Easypress, so no holes and completely even temperature over the entire surface. Now we're just going to flip this over, and once again we're going to press from the back. This time, however, it's a shorter time from the back, but I'm just going to let it count down about halfway. You can absolutely change the time on the Easypress to reflect that shorter time period. Then we're just going to turn this over. And also on the interactive guide, it tells you whether the iron-on materials are hot peel or cool peel. But I always test it when it's cool to the touch. And if it doesn't peel up, then I go ahead and wait for it to completely cool before trying again. So while it's still fairly warm, you can start peeling it back from the carrier sheet. So just peel the carrier sheet up. Once again, you're looking for any iron-on material that's not stuck to your shirt, and then you'll need to press again if any of that starts to remove from the shirt. Then once everything's down and you have a good press, this one is ready to go. And next we'll do the same thing with the holographic. But this time we can actually adjust the time and temperature to be appropriate for the material we're using. So we actually want to turn the temperature up for the holographic. So we're going to turn it up slightly. Then we'll wait for it to beep to let us know it's done. And at the right temperature for holographic this time, instead of the temperature that we used for the everyday. So you can actually change temperatures and times with the Easypress, which is one of the things I love about it. The second thing would be how much different it is as far as consistent and even heat across the surface. And now we'll just wait for it to come up to temperature before we start pressing. Okay, so now our Easypress is at temperature, so we can heat the material, add our design, press the green button, and press down. And when it's done, once again, we'll flip over and we'll press from the back before peeling it off. Then once again, this is a warm peel product, so we'll just let it cool slightly. You don't want to burn your hand or anything. The Easypress is extremely hot. Now, the first thing I'll notice is that I had some distortion on the holographic with my iron because I had to press it twice. So far, with just the one press on the Easypress, I can see that there's no distortion in the iron-on material itself, and it appears to be stuck down. So let's try those letters. Yes, so it's stuck down with one press and no distortion of the material itself. So when you're dealing with holographics, metallics, that type of thing, the Easypress is wonderful with that even heat and getting it down one time, so you don't have to worry about the distortion of your material itself. So the time and temperature for holographic is actually exactly the same for this material and glitter. So we're just going to use the same settings, and we're going to press our glitter. So same thing, same procedure, and press down while it counts down. Alright, so I just completed the presses for the glitter. So I did the same thing. I preheated the material, then pressed it from the front and pressed it from the back. Now I can peel it off warm, and you can see that it's perfectly adhered and ready to go. So now we're going to do one more, which is the patterned iron-on. And something I have not talked about yet is the base for the Easypress. So each Easypress comes with a base. So it's super handy to just keep your Easypress right on your table, heat it up and ready to go, and without any danger to the table itself because it is raised and super easy to use. Okay, so the patterned iron-on itself is actually a higher temperature. So once again, I'm able to change the time and temperature if I need to, and it's actually for a longer time. So I'm going to up my time as well. I'm actually able to let it heat up to the new temperature, and then the time will count down as appropriate. And then this one's actually a cold peel, so we're going to let it cool before we peel it off. And it's already at this temperature. So something about the Easypress 2 is that it heats up really quickly. So if you are looking for something that heats up quickly, then the Easypress 2 is definitely for you. For your iron, they actually recommend that you leave it heating for quite a while, like 5 minutes or so, before you start pressing. That way it actually comes up to the temperature that you need. Alright, so I pressed the patterned iron-on both from the back and the front according to the time and temperature recommendations on the Cricut Interactive Guide. And so now I'm just letting it cool. And it's pretty cool, so let's see if it'll peel back. And it will. So I just want to make sure that everything's pressed well. So as you can see, the Easypress was super simple to use in comparison with the iron. So I'm going to go over a few of the things that I personally love about the Easypress versus the iron. And I will actually throw this shirt into the laundry a few times as well, just so we can compare how well the two are at sticking the material to the shirt and how long will this last on my shirt. So let's find out. Alright, so here's our shirt. So I've actually ran this through the laundry twice now, and the iron, at least on the holographic, is starting to peel up already. So I'm super, super mad because I worked so hard to press this on. So this is the one I had to press twice to even get it to stick with my iron, and now it's peeling off on the edges of the words. The other ones seem to be okay so far. I'll wash it a few more times. I'll report back if I see anything else. So I think... So for me, the Easypress 2 is the way to go. So I'll just tell you a little story. I'll end this with a story. So I've been crafting for years, and I always dreaded using iron-on. So I would use my iron, I would try to get the iron-on to adhere. It would come off after a couple times through the laundry. Sometimes it even came off before I even got there. Like I just could not get it to stick with an iron. This is my third iron. So the first iron I started with, I couldn't get it to work at all. Bought a second iron, thought that was what the problem was. Again, having problem after problem after problem. This is my third iron now that I bought brand new for this video. And as you can see, I'm having trouble again getting the iron-on to stick by using just the iron. So for the Easypress 2 was a lifesaver for me. So I've done a ton of projects with my Cricut Easypress, and I must say that all of them have been fine. Like I have not had any trouble, and I've worn several of them tons of times, ran them through the laundry tons of times, and had no problems with it sticking. I've made gifts with it. I would never make a gift with my iron and iron-on because I was so scared of what would happen once they received that gift and it started falling off. But now, with the Easypress 2, I make gifts all the time that have iron-on on them. And I'm infatuated with iron-on and everything you can do with it and all the surfaces you can put it on. So for me, the Easypress 2 is the way to go. Now, you can use the information in this video and kind of decide for yourself which one is for you. For me, I'll take the Easypress 2 every time and use it for all my iron-on crafts. So that is my opinion, but hopefully this video has helped you make an informed decision about your purchasing. If you have any questions about any of the experiments we did, any of the experience I've had with either one, please ask them in the comment section below. Be sure to give us a thumbs up if you like this, and subscribe on YouTube. So we have tons of Cricut videos all the time, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those. Now, if you want to see the Easypress 2 compared with other things, so I have a video comparing the original Easypress with the Easypress 2, so if you want to know the differences, you can find that video. I also have a video comparing the Easypress 2 with a heat press, so if you want to know the differences between those two, I have another video that explains that. So if you need more information on the Easypress 2, it's readily available on the YouTube channel. If you can't find any of those links, leave a comment below and I'll find them for you. So thank you so much for joining me today. We'll be back next week with another fun video. Thanks y'all. Bye.